Joe, what's up, man? We've
How's it
got some
going?
news to cover. Uh,
Yes.
Binance is in the news again. They've been in the news a couple times now, and we had this big story drop, and I think we definitely need to cover it. So, Binance, world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, has been accused of commingling customer funds with company revenue in 2020 and 2021. Potentially, I mean, that's a big no-no. That is, there's US financial rules that require customer money to be kept separate. And Reuters broke a big story that they did not follow those rules. So, what do you think about this, Joe?
Yeah, Trevor, if you heard my sigh, that was the sigh of deja vu, like right from I still have, some mental scars from the FTX debacle. And I think that's part of what I was almost, I don't know if surprised by is the right word, but when I dug into like what this was really about, it's really kind of similar. There's a lot of things that are akin to the FTX thing. To be clear, these are just accusations, and Binance has come out with a response of like why XYZ isn't true. So anyway, the details were around their BNB token. So like, the native token from Binance. There's the accusation that Reuters sourced from some anonymous sources inside Binance was that when customers obtained BNB from Binance and they gave their dollars, their fiat money to Binance, that those funds went to Silvergate Bank. And then those funds, instead of being set aside as customer deposits, became commingled with all of other Binance's other funds at Silvergate, which that's the big no-no that you're talking about there. That's also, really why I say so similar to the FTX thing. If folks remember, there was, a big part of their issue is that they were holding so much of this FTT token, but they didn't
Mhm.
have any of the dollars, kind of underlying that collateral to back those. So it's not exactly the same, but it's really, we're dealing with one of these exchange native tokens again, and the dollars underlying, being somewhere else, right? So Binance came out and said, well, hey, actually, even though their site said when customers did this, these funds would be deposited into their account as BNB. So it read like this is a customer deposit. Binance
Yeah,
came out and said, no, that's not what it was. We sold them BNB. So they, just like Amazon sells a product, we sold
yeah.
them BNB. Those are our funds. So it's okay that we commingled them. But I think, which, like I said, these are accusations. What to believe, I don't know. And Binance also said, hey, we have internal ledgers where we track all this stuff. We know what assets belong elsewhere. But I don't know, Trevor, would it shock you to find out that funds, and did get commingled at Silvergate? Like, I don't, do you
No,
have any feel
because
for
I
that?
mean, yeah, like we opened this by saying Binance is in the news again, right? Because
Right.
they've, I mean, it's really ironic because they were the ones that sort of blew the whistle per se on FTX. And it could just be a situation of the pot calling the kettle black, right? We don't
Right.
know. Um, but it is really interesting because I think even there has been a lot of scrutiny specifically around uh, BUSD or Binance USD since the SEC sent a Wells notice to Paxos, right? So no, that would not surprise me at all because it's already been, and then they've had some other things with like unrelated, I mean, who knows, possibly related money laundering accusations, things
Right.
like that. So no, it would not surprise me. Um, I'm curious, Joe, because I mean, you work with a lot of different customers that deal with digital assets, even some institutions. What like what are some sort of best practices to just avoid this exact situation? Because if it's happened to FTX, happened to Binance, I have to think that we aren't immune to this type of thing from happening.
Yeah, good question. I think about it kind of in two ways. One, like first and foremost, you have to track these things really closely, right? The idea that you have different. You're holding different tokens. Those, maybe you're holding collateral for those tokens. You have to, maybe some are held for one purpose, other tokens are held for another purpose. So the requirement that you have like a ledger or sub-ledger system that is super granular, can track all of this stuff, is sort of your starting point. Because if you can't do that, then you don't even know what you're supposed to be holding over at your bank, right? So that's kind of like, if you don't have that, it's like a non-starter. And now Binance, to be clear, they said, look, we track all this stuff. We've got ledgers to keep track of it. I don't know if that's true or not. I certainly hope it is. We definitely saw at FTX, they were actually just using spreadsheets like a lot of folks do. So I would say, first and foremost, a robust system, a sub-ledger system to track all these things in a granular way so that you know what you're supposed to have. But then there's sort of this bigger thing, this maybe more holistic internal controls issue that, we're talking about them commingling, dollars and bank accounts. This isn't specifically about crypto tokens, this specific commingling. So it's the idea that, like, your operations team, your team that is working with your normal bank accounts, really has to be married. It is all one internal control environment. And those two really have to be married together so that one team is being informed by what the other team, or maybe they're the same team, but you have to first have that system, super granular tracking, so you know what you should have, and then have an internal control environment such that the team actually moving the funds around in the bank adheres to that. And if they don't, you find out, that is that robust internal control environment. And I think in our state of the crypto landscape, that really robust internal control environment, that is, to me, where still there's a lot of work to be done in a lot of places. I think we're seeing the maturity of it grow over time, but there's definitely some areas that at least I think are immature.
Yeah, I think this is all part of the growing up that the digital asset industry needs to do, right? And apparently we're still learning that lesson even after FTX, is you have to have controls in place. You have to have a robust sub-ledger, accounting software, all the bells and whistles to make sure that have a robust financial system. So thanks, Joe, for hopping on. It's great to have your thoughts on this topic. And hopefully this is not anywhere near as bad as FTX. And but either way, we've got to be talking about it to hopefully progress the maturity of the industry.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, man. I hope we actually don't hear about this one again.
Yeah.
I hope this one goes away. I hope we're not talking about an update on this one later.
Yeah. This is the last we're talking about it. Fingers crossed.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Bye.